Hey everyone, welcome back to Basic Level Gaming. Today we are continuing on with our How to Play Chess series. We're going to do another session of playing game and analyzing it afterwards. We may get 2 games in like we did the last time. We'll just see, how it goes. But I feel like this is really going to give us some more advantage of learning like why to make different steps. Because it's one thing just to feel like you're doing a good job or you're winning, but that doesn't mean you're playing right. And so the analyzation just really, I feel like, helps dig in and really see what a better move would have been. So that's where we're gonna go on today, and then next year we'll kind of change it up and do something different when we come back on Tuesday. So I've already got it all set up here, as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and see if we can find an opponent. And we did right away, of course. And we're going to play white again. Seems like that's our destiny most of the time. Not super familiar with that attempt here. Look like this. If he wants to trade, we'll trade. He's making some interesting plays that seem really odd. I don't really want to do that though. Oops. What am I doing? Grab the wrong piece. He's gonna take it, I'm sure. I'll trade. I'm probably not playing very well. I'm his approach really threw me off. Or her approach, I guess. Just didn't feel like something I would normally see. So I'm just trying to figure out really kind of how to get out of it. And I can't castle. I'm sure I've made so many mistakes in this game. Be interesting to see what happens. Well, we pulled that one off. I did not think we were going to win that. So let's take a look at how it all went. So it's done. Well, it's almost done analyzing. This is 98%. There it goes. Okay. So of course we started out with E4. And then they did D5, which it says is a Scandinavian, it's a Alkine's defense, Scandinavian variation. I've just never seen that, so that was interesting for me. Says this was my first mistake, which I did not know what to do. So it says I should have just took it, which would make sense. I mean, I could definitely see the advantage of that, because then my queen is still protected and all that good stuff. So, and then he does that, which was not the best move according to this. It said it was decent though. It says he should have just took mine. Now it says this was a book move, so I mean we'll take it. So that was definitely the best move. Okay, so it says I should have went down and kind of hid back in here, and I can definitely see that. It said my move was excellent, though, so I'm okay with that. I have always seen that you want to avoid, like, blocking your other pieces in with your knights like that. So that's why I just didn't do it. But it makes sense, because it still protects the same square and doesn't put me out here vulnerable. So it says it was a good move. It says he should have backed up his other pawn instead. And then here's where it says I did not do the right thing. It says I should have went to the corner. Again, that's something I've always been told not to do, so it's interesting that that's what it's saying is the best move. But, oh well, we did it. I knew I'd made mistakes, so he takes my knight, of course. So I jump out here, which it says is excellent, but I could have just attacked with a pawn. Certainly makes sense. I don't know why I didn't. Now, so this was a blunder. Should have backed the queen up to save it. His thought was, I'm not going to give up my queen, so I won't attack the queen, which is definitely not the case. I was more than willing to trade. So it says that was definitely the best move. That was his best move, of course. And that was mine. Those were all like givens. It had to happen. Now it says this was an inaccuracy. It says should have just attacked my knight with the pawn. Makes sense. It says that was the best move. So apparently it thought I should trade as well. Which I did. And he of course followed through. So that was excellent. But I could have just moved my bishop up here to get in the way of the king, I guess. And activated it out there a little bit. And he finally goes ahead and moves that pawn, which it says was his best move. And that says that was a mistake. I should have just moved it 1 instead of 2. And I can see that. And that would have helped protect my pawn. I was, I guess, more trying to go on the attack, because my thing is if he does take my pawn, then I'll just take his pawn, be up a pawn, be able to attack over in here. But I definitely see it would have been safer, so he castles. Wait, what did I do? Oh, I stepped forward too much. So he should have moved the knight, it says. Which makes sense, because he's... Then next turn he could have forked my king and my rook, which I was trying to watch for, but I wasn't doing a very good job of it, because I was looking at it on this side, and I wasn't thinking about this side. So next we're going to go to, I go ahead and take his knight, which it says was my best move. Of course he's going to take my bishop. I take his pawn. So these are all like, it just says these are just perfect moves. It says that was the best, but he also could have just moved the rook over to start attacking back here, I guess. This is where he castles, which he says, which it said was inaccuracy, and partially because now it's over here where if it takes these pawns, there's some things to to help defend it. Whereas if he took this pawn back here, there's nothing I could do about it. So it said that was a good move. I also could have just moved the bishop out. So those were just kind of alternate options. And it makes sense to me why that's not the best move, because if he had moved this pawn up here, it keeps me from getting up here. And it also means if I do take the pawn, then his rook can get me and he's open. So definitely would have been a better move. Now it's saying I should have went all the way out instead of attacking the king here. I mean, I said what I did was good, just not the best. So he of course moves his king down, and I agree here. It's saying he should have moved the king over to b8 instead of down to b7, because this put him in a place where I can start forcing him around. So certainly something to note there. Then it's saying I should have moved the rook up here instead of the bishop. My thought process was I was attacking him. If I'd have moved the rook up, it still would have been protected. I could have started attacking like this pawn, made room for my pawns to be able to move, things like that. So, and it was simple for him to get away from me by moving the rook over. So certainly can see that would have been a better option. And now this is what it says was wrong. I should have moved the bishop back here to protect the pawn instead of the rook. And I certainly agree with that. I wasn't thinking about being able to protect with the bishop. I was thinking about attacking with the bishop. So, my mistake. And I definitely think moving the bishop out to attack my rook would have been better than the pawn, because right now the pawn, it's not bothering me. I mean, as a matter of fact, he moved it out of my way in a way. So, not sure why that happened. And it's saying that was an inaccuracy. And I definitely believe that. I did not know how to go about getting my rook out of there since I couldn't castle. I didn't want to have to move my pawns 100 times, and I just felt like that was the best option. But it certainly wasn't. So he made a mistake here moving his pawn as well, because this pawn wasn't in any danger at this point, because I only have a light squared bishop. I can't do a whole lot there. So he should have started attacking over here. Sorry. I will mute that part. So anyway, that was definitely a mistake. And it says this was a really bad, like an inaccuracy. And I mean, it definitely leads to my win, but I don't disagree that I should have started like trying to march my pawns up, because if I move this pawn up here, the rook can't take it anymore because it's protected by this other pawn. So certainly can see that. So now he makes the move, moving the pawn down. And I guess I was just thinking of getting around the pawn, this pawn here. So I don't know why I did that, but like I said, I knew I made a lot of mistakes in the game. So, of course, he takes the pawn, which it's saying was a bad move, which I totally disagree, because he could have put me in check, and then I couldn't have done anything. I'd have had to move the king out of the way. Then he could have gotten down in here. It just was, he could have set himself up a lot better. So, of course, I take the pawn. And this was to attack my bishop. And I definitely see it, but it's so easy for me to defend with my next rook. Now, granted, I don't think the next rook move I make is a good move, because it opens me up to check and loses a pawn. But I don't think he saw that. I don't think that was intentional. I think it just happened. So we're going to go ahead and jump up there. It's saying I should have just went down and attacked the king, because then if he did take me, I could have taken his rook, plus gotten around this pawn. So I certainly can see that, and I still kept myself safe. Of course, he takes the pawn. It's saying it would have been better to put down here and attack the rook. I certainly can see that as well. Oh, I see what it's saying. I should have come. I didn't even think about that. I was just thinking how to get the king out of the way. But yeah, it would have been better to move the rook back, because then if he took my pawn, my bishop, I'd take his rook. So certainly would have been a better move. Now it looks like from here I actually play the game well after we get through all that. So he takes my pawn. Not the best move by any means, although it does make me start to feel like I'm stuck, which is a good thing to do. Like if you can get your opponent feeling like they're trapped, that's good. So, but it just wasn't the best move by any means. So I take his bishop, of course. He's going to put me in check, which it says is excellent. His best bet would have to go ahead and take the pawn. So I move over, which says is best. That's good. Not like I had any other options. It was literally my only choice. So now he's going to go ahead and take the pawn. And this is where I move my bishop down and start getting into it. At this point, I saw the checkmate. I saw him stuck. And it's very important when you see that to be able to follow through. And at this point, he doesn't ever have an opportunity to make a different choice. Because now he's gonna run from me, which his best bet would have been to move the pawn down and attack the bishop. He did not do that. So now, I mean, I knew I had him. And it's not that his move was horrible. It doesn't stop what I'm in the process of doing. So the next thing I'm going to put him in check. Now his thought process is I'm going to attack the rook because the rook is unprotected. So he's going to step back here, which is a huge mistake. I mean, there's not any other worse move he could have made here. This is called a blunder. It was definitely bad. So I move down because now my bishop's protected, or my bishop's protecting my rook, so he can't move anywhere but the corner. That's literally his only option. And from there, when he moves into the corner, which of course is his best option, is only one, now I just move my rook back, and he's got nowhere to go. So it's definitely a good example of how you can take a game that you make mistakes and you're losing big time, and you can turn it around and trap the opponent. And really, I stumbled into the trap. Like I had it in my mindset, but I didn't have it all the way thought through, and I just kind of stumbled into it. So, and I was losing. There's no doubt. He had me on the ropes with his rooks down here. Some of his early moves threw me off so bad. So it was definitely a good game. And that's where we're going to go today. We're just going to do the one game. We're running at almost 30 minutes already. So we're going to go ahead and end it here. And like I said, next year we're going to come in. I'm going to talk about a little bit more advanced concepts at this point, because I think we've got the general basics down. We're going to start talking about maybe some of the end game or middle game stuff, since we've done mostly focused on the openings and just general attacks and defenses. So we'll start that on Tuesday. Hopefully you'll join us. And if you have any ideas, comments, feedback, whatever, leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from everybody. And we will see you Tuesday. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our updates. And have a great day.